I saw a video a couple days ago that really caught my attention, and when I saw it, I was thinking to myself, there's no way this is real life. This cannot be seriously happening.
This is breaking news. Starting in 2027, refrigerator manufacturers will no longer sell refrigerators with automatic ice makers unless you have a subscription fee. That's right, starting in 2027, for 1 year, you can buy a refrigerator and it will make ice for you if you want. But after that 12-month period is over, you're going to have to pay a $29.95 subscription fee in order to get ice made in your refrigerator.
All right, when I saw this clip, my number one mission was to go find the original version of it and just see if there was any merit to it. So I did, and I found it on Instagram. And right off the bat, I mean, it literally says right down in there in the description, it says, this is satire. There's no truth to this whatsoever. I'll take that back. There is a little truth to it, which we're going to circle back to this. We're going to get into this because it's crazy where things are headed. But there are two big underlying issues with this segment, okay? Two very big issues. And this is, in fact, a lot of the things that are wrong with society today. Because here's the big problem here. This clip was satire, and it was intentionally satire because it is rage bait. The whole purpose of that clip is just to tick people off. I mean, really, that's what it's all about. It is to hook people in, to get them very, very angry, to get them to spread the message. And of course, they're going to keep watching it, so it holds their attention. But they're going to pass the message on, and then that essentially will cause the clip to go viral because it's all about the click. It's all about holding your attention, and it's all about the view. That's what most short form content is. Some long form content is that way also, but especially short form content. And here's the big problem with this, okay? We live in a society today where people simply don't go out and do their own research. And in this particular case, you don't even have to go out and scour the web. I did do a Google search on this, and I just looked online to see if there was any merit to what this guy was saying. And again, we're going to get into this because there is a little bit. It's kind of misleading what he was saying, but there is some merit to it. But it says right there in the description that it's satire. You don't have to go far to find this information. But the problem, when I searched down through the comments, is that 90% of the people in the comments were just raging out over this. They were talking about how this is horrible. They were talking about how, like I'm kind of saying, this is everything wrong with America. Holy crap, this can't be real. And they just believe this stuff at face value. This is a major, major problem. And that's a major problem with short form content. It's one big reason why I can't stand watching it because, number one, it's brain rot, but it kind of loops you in this cycle of despair because there's not enough information in the clip for there to be a very reasonable, solution to the problem. You can't really bake that in there. It's all about, again, getting the click, getting the view. So it's just about the rage. We have to make people angry. We have to hook them in, and we have to hold their attention. No solution. Here's the problem, but there's no solution. So that's just going to leave people ticked off. They're going to scroll on to the next thing, which is probably also going to be negative. And then before you know it, your algorithm's full of negative stuff because it sees that that is what you're watching. That's what's holding your attention. And it's going to feed you more and more and more. And before you know it, your entire worldview is nothing but negative. Everything that you see, or better yet, the way that you perceive the world, is in a very negative light. The entire world is nothing but problems. That's what you believe because that is what you are seeing with your own two eyes. Even though a lot of the stuff that you're seeing is probably satire. It's probably literally just there to get you raged up. Yes, there's going to be some truth to some of it, and I would say in a lot of cases there's probably going to be some truth to a lot of it, but when you're stuck in that cycle of just constant anger and despair, then what do you do? What do you do when it seems like the entire world is nothing but problems? How do you come up with solutions to those problems? Well, the answer to that question is that you don't. It leaves people feeling very hopeless, very lost, and just full of anger, rage, and anxiety and despair. This is the kind of stuff, and this is the endless loop that sucks away your life force. And when that happens, people become numb. They stop caring about pretty much everything. And not only do they stop caring, they start dehumanizing the people around them. They become desensitized to pretty much everything in their lives. And even the problems that are in their immediate reality, the ones that they could probably do something about, they don't do anything. They're just left in a numb, senseless complacency, and nothing ever gets done. And I think that's kind of where we're at in society today. I think that's why nothing is getting done. It's because we all see all these problems. And it seems like there are so many problems because we're faced with all of them. I'm not even talking about the ones just here in America. I'm not talking about the ones in our lives. I'm talking about the entire world. We see a world full of problems. And how do you tackle that? It seems very overwhelming, and that's because it is. And when people face that and they realize how much pressure is on all of our shoulders because of that, that is what puts us in the position we are in today. And when society is full of that much misery, that's what gets put back into the world around us. And that creates our reality. So maybe that's kind of what's feeding the beast. Maybe it's the fact that people are so full of this negative energy that they're kind of exuding that throughout their daily lives. And that is kind of creating, or at least helping to promote, this negativity and the direction that society is headed. Because I would say that society is kind of headed in a very negative direction. And there is a way that we could pull ourselves out of that, but it's going to take a mindset shift. It's going to take us getting away from all this negativity and focusing on the things in our immediate reality that we can change. Taking off bite-sized chunks, not trying to tackle the whole thing, but just bite-sized chunks out of the bigger problems that surround us. Or maybe even focusing on the smaller problems that are in our immediate reality. And that is a big reason why I strictly limit the amount that I expose myself to short form content. Yes, I view it sometimes. Sometimes I use it as supporting information. Sometimes I use it to just keep my finger on the pulse and to hear what the rest of society is thinking and saying. And sometimes I use it to get the news and information, but I do limit myself. And, when it comes to this whole ice maker thing, is there really any truth to that? Even though this is satire, is there any truth to it? The harsh reality to this is yes, there is. And unfortunately, that is 100% where society is headed. It's not mandatory right now, but could it be in the future? Maybe. Or maybe it's just one of those things that as more of these new appliances start coming out, it's just going to become a standardized feature. And the unfortunate thing about this is that all the old appliances and stuff like that are kind of getting phased out. It's getting harder and harder to find these things. And when you do find them, they're kind of expensive. So as these things become more scarce and we're stuck buying these newer models, if they have the $6.99 a month ice maker built in, I guess we're kind of stuck with that. And I've never felt more justified in my entire life for having an old refrigerator freezer combo that, number one, has an ice maker, but it's one of those deals that I installed myself, and I could easily take that ice maker out and just put the ice trays in there. I think that's what it's going to come down to, is just going back to the analog stuff, because all this digital stuff, it all has an agenda, and the agenda is basically to extract as much money from us as possible on a recurring basis. And that's the bigger issue here, is that the idea of this subscription-based ice maker as being a common thing or something that's, mandatory is not really that far-fetched, because we're already seeing this with the automotive industry. Most of the new vehicles that are coming out have features that are based around this reoccurring revenue model. Seats, heated mirrors, horsepower, all kinds of stuff. It's just like everything in the vehicle is just poised to try to extract money from you. It's not enough that we're paying $3,200 for a refrigerator straight off the gate. It's not enough that we're paying $60,000, $80,000, $90,000 for a vehicle. Now we have to pay $20, $30 a month on top of that. And what makes this even more dystopian is that all of these things that have these new features and these subscriptions, they also come with a compromise. And that compromise says, well, instead of paying $6.99, how about you just sign this agreement and you allow us to just feed you ads? That's their compromise. And this compromise kind of works because everything modern today has a screen built in. And one of the big reasons for that is so that it can feed you ads. And if it doesn't have a screen, it has a camera so that it can watch you and monitor you. That way it can feed you ads. And in a lot of cases, it has a screen and a camera so that it can do both. And me ranting about this might seem like more rage bait, but here's the thing, right? Here's why this shouldn't make you angry. because we have the option to not buy this stuff. I watched a video the other day where this woman was on there, she was in this car, and she was raging out over this new Toyota that she just bought, and she was so upset because now she's driving down the road and it's telling her, hey, keep your eyes on the road. Look up, quit being distracted, because it's monitoring her. It's watching everything that she's doing, and it's correcting her because it thinks she is a distracted driver. And she's so upset by this because she spent all this money on this brand new car, and it's trying to tell her how to drive. It's a side seat driver now that she has to live with every time she gets in that vehicle.
Okay, you guys, I just got a Camry XSE, and it's the Premium Plus, and I'm over the screen telling me what to do, okay? It keeps telling me to sit up. It can't see my face. I'm like, what? I'm sitting here. It keeps telling me to pay attention. I'm paying attention. Like, what is going on? Stop telling me what to do. How do I turn this off? Please. It's driving me nuts.
And I was just laughing to myself because, back in the day, or even right now, people are considered smart when they do their due diligence and they take their time buying a house. If they go out and they research the market and they get inspections done and they do title searches and, they go to the house and they look it over themselves and they spend all this time making sure that that house is what they want. And there's nothing crazy in there. There's nothing that's going to, mess them up a couple years down the road. There's nothing that's going to be a showstopper. That is considered smart. But when it comes to buying a new vehicle, which also, by the way, usually costs as much as a brand new house, or at least comes very close to that, that's just you being a conspiracy theorist or a doomer. Why are you being so dramatic? Just buy the car. These cars are so safe. They have these high safety ratings, and all these new features in there, they're all about safety. They're much safer than the old vehicles. They have all these new features that are also going to make you so much more comfortable. Just buy the new car. There's no sense of researching it. There's no sense of actually reading the terms and conditions before you sign on the dotted line, because you probably need to do that now, because when you sign on the dotted line, you're not just signing for that vehicle. You're signing for all this surveillance that's baked in. You're signing for all this monitoring it's going to be doing, and probably these subscriptions also. But people treat these things just like they treat short form content. They don't do their own research. They don't take the time to look deeper into these things. They take everything at face value. They sign on the dotted line. And then next thing you know, they're on social media griping about how the thing is telling you how to drive, or how your heated seats turned off and now you have to pay $20 a month to keep them turned on. And I do feel a little empathetic for some of these people, because I think in some cases this stuff is so convincing that people just believe it. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to feel sympathetic for somebody who doesn't take 2 seconds to just go online and look this stuff up, because we now live in an era of information abundance. We all have access to the same information, and it takes 2 seconds to go online, search this stuff up, and find the answers to our questions. And if this woman would have done this, she probably would have found out that the car is going to tell her how to drive. It's going to be watching everything that she does. And upon learning that, that may have led her down a path that led to even more truths. Maybe it would have led her to discovering that all this tyrannical nonsense that they're baking in to everything around us today is all shrouded behind a veil of these great features. And maybe that would have made her realize that most of the things that we're told are based on blatant lies. And those lies are there for a very specific reason, which usually comes down to power, control, profit, greed, and money. And that is the silver lining here. All this stuff that makes people so angry and that makes them rage out and that keeps them stuck in this constant state of despair would go away in an instant if people simply opted out. And I truly believe that that is the path forward. And that's my new motto. When in doubt, opt out. If I question something and I think something sounds a little too good to be true, or it sounds a little fishy, when in doubt, opt out. And that's where I think this analog revolution and this resistance is coming into play, because I think that's what people are doing. They're starting to realize what is happening. They're seeing this stuff, because a lot of people are actually going out and they're doing their own research. They're looking deeper into these things. They're seeing the truth. And they're opting out, and they're opting for this analog stuff. And I would say in a lot of cases, People are now creating an analog world around them. As a matter of fact, I just saw the other day where the average age of all the cars here in America is over 12 years old. What does that kind of tell you? It tells you that people are fed up with this new stuff. They're fed up with all these baked in agendas, and they're opting for the stuff that is more simple and that does not have an ulterior motive. This is the way forward, and it is very important to remember that this stuff only exists and they only keep making it because people continue to participate. People, just like that woman that bought that car, they continue to buy these cars. They continue to buy these $3,200 refrigerators. The moment that stops and their profits, which are now, by the way, at record highs because people are buying this stuff, when that goes from green to red, that is when all this nonsense stops. That is when they stop putting this tyrannical crap in all the stuff in our world today. And that's why I believe that 2026 and beyond is the era of opting out. And you should probably get off the tracks and board this train, because if you don't, it's going to run you over.